As John Lennon said, in the end, the love you get is equal to the love you give. Final gifts, caring for someone at the end of life tonight, on call with the Prairie Doc. Good evening and welcome to On Call with the Prairie Doc. There have been many great thinkers who opined about the importance of how we approach death. Writer Mark Twain said, "The fear of death follows from the fear of life. A man who lives fully is prepared to die at any time." Leonardo da Vinci reflected, "While I thought that I was learning how to live, I have been learning how to die." Though this kind of view from a height may be at its roots true, it is often hard to exercise this reasoning as death approaches a loved one. First, let's take a look at this week's Prairie Doc quiz question. Hospice provides for teaching, research, expert pain and symptom relief, meeting the needs of patients, their family, and friends. Where was the first hospice built? We're looking for the city and country of origin. Hint, it was not in the U.S. Viewers who call in the correct answer will be entered into a drawing to win a signed copy of our book, The Picture of Health. Each of my essays, originally written for this show, comes with a wonderful accompanying photograph by Dr. Judith Peterson. We will announce the answer and the winner at the end of the show. Remember, you only have 10 minutes to get your answer in. We answer your medical questions about end-of-life care as they are called in or sent to us via Facebook or email. Call in your questions to 1-888-376-6225 or send us an email to the address on the screen. Joining us tonight is Maggie Callanan, RN, hospice nurse, and author of the book Final Gifts. Welcome, Maggie.
Thank you.
So, you and I developed a friendship when I reviewed your book for
Yes.
the Journal of the American Medical Association.
Yes.
You've heard about it indirectly a couple years later or something.
Yes.
And then we called
I
and
contacted
emailed.
you.
And,
Right. Yes.
and then you were on the show a year ago.
I was, yes.
So I said, this is a live wire. Somebody who has lots to share. And
Well, we've
so,
developed quite a friendship, but we're only just seeing each other face to face
for
today.
the first time
Today, yes.
And we had a conference today here in Brookings, which was really a joy. But I thought that conference was just, I mean, your messages were magnificent, Maggie.
It was great.
What would you summarize what is said on your conference for the people?
I think the important thing is that dying people are trying to teach us that death is not the fearful, awful, frightening, overwhelming event that we allow ourselves to think it is. And to learn their messages, you have to listen to them. And often the messages come across in what seems to be confused language. But they're telling us that they're at peace, they're telling us that they're seeing people, they're telling us a lot of wonderful things that help our grieving enormously, but also make the journey of dying much less fearful.
Well, I think, don't you think that people are, very frightened of dying? I mean, maybe not the older people so much, but many people are just panicked.
Of course, of course.
And it's more now than it used to be 100 years ago, I'm sure.
Well, and I think it's because they don't know enough about it, and they don't want to. They don't want to know. It's like, oh, la, 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 I don't want to know that. That's pretty bad. Well, but what you learn if you know it, it gives you great peace and a great sense of not being so afraid. It's hard to leave this earth in fear. You know.
And what is it that what is it that is the most reassuring to you about this dying process that has given you a sense that it isn't something to be panicked about?
I think if I could single out one thing, because there are quite a few, but the one that I think affected me the most when I started doing hospice, because we were learning by the seat of our pants.
It was the beginning, right?
I've been doing it since 1981. It was new in this country. What we learned was it was the patients who would teach us, and that we needed to trust them and listen to them, not see ourselves as the expert. But the thing that impressed me the most was the power that dying people have to choose the way and the moment that they actually die. They don't have the power to not die, but they can choose a time when their family's there. They often choose a time when their family is not there to spare them. And that power of having more control over dying than I ever thought, to me, was very reassuring. You are not out of control. You are not powerless. And they teach us this over and over and over again.
I saw an 80-plus-year-old, maybe 90-something grandmother of a dear friend of mine who was dying in the ICU. She had a massive heart attack and almost no blood pressure. I mean, it was 60s, systolic. I mean, she's almost gone, right?
Yeah.
She doesn't want to die because her daughter's not there. And so she would be laying there, and then she'd open her eyes and she said, "Is my daughter here yet?" "Nope." "Okay." Go back to sleep. And then her daughter came in, hugged her.
Said, "I love you."
"Love you."
Gonna
She
miss
died.
you. Yeah. That's the power that dying people have. They can delay their dying, or they can speed it up if the scene is right, if the right people are there or not there.
I saw a 95-year-old man say to his son, "You know, you've got a lot going on and you're going to be gone next week and da-da-da-da-da. Today would be a good day to die." And he did.
He did. There you go. It's
And I couldn't put a finger on why he died. I mean, he was a lovely patient who supported this television show, by the way.
Oh, did he? Good for him.
Yeah,
Good,
financially.
Good support.
95-year-old
Yes.
man.
Yeah. Well, dying is really much more in our control than we would ever expect it to be. And I was shocked by that when I started at hospice, because I came from critical care where we were in charge of everything. And suddenly patients are behaving in a way that said, "I'm doing this my way." And as long as we keep them physically comfortable, which hospice and palliative care does better than anybody else in the world, once we keep them comfortable and peaceful, they can show us their strength and choose the moment. It's pretty powerful.
People are afraid of going into hospice, though. I mean, and families are afraid to ask for it. I mean, they say that 1/3 of the people who would benefit from this added Medicare benefit. I mean, more money.
It's free. It's free money.
It's free money.
One time in your life, the government gives you free money.
Yeah.
And it's to go into hospice.
Yes,
Yes.
but they're afraid because, oh, this will kill me. And
They're going to give up on me.
Yes.
They're going to give up on me.
Tell me that's not
Well,
so.
let me tell you, I've done critical care. I've done 17 different jobs in nursing in my 53 years. I have never
You're
seen...
53 years old.
I am. Isn't it amazing?
Yeah.
I was an infant when I went into nursing.
Yes.
I have never seen clinicians work as hard as hospice and palliative care clinicians work to take care of people's pain and suffering. No stone is left unturned. It is our mission. It is our goal. And we are the best at it. That is our specialty.
On the other hand, a lot of people in the healthcare world seem to be driven to keep everybody alive, and the family's afraid not to want to do everything, and the doctors encourage it. Tell me, talk about that.
Well, you know, first of all, we've got to acknowledge, as my dying father said to me, 1 out of 1 go. The odds are against us.
Yeah.
Nobody gets out of this world
1 out of 1.
alive. Yeah, 1 out of 1. So acknowledging that and realizing that you have the choice of going in agony, being stuck with needles, having IVs and tests done, tubes just stuck every place you don't want to think about. You can choose that. Or you can choose being comfortable, being at home in your own bed with your family around you. It is your last opportunity to make memories. And I would choose the memories. Right. You can't do that on ICUs when you got tubes everywhere and the visiting hours are limited. We can normalize dying and bring it back to what it used to be.
Right.
It used to be that way.
Right. Well, and right now people are encouraging advance directives, and I'm going to make my blurb to say a written advance directive that's notarized and everything is one thing, and that's a good thing. But the most important part is to tell your family.
The discussion. It's
the discussion. Because they don't have to follow. The family are going to be talking to the doctors in the emergency room. They don't have to follow your advance directive. but if you've talked to them about it.
Absolutely.
And I think the big question is feeding tubes. If you don't have a chance of remembering what your family, you know, people put feeding tubes in people to keep them alive.
And there's a 70% rate of those poor folks who don't have the strength to swallow and make things go in the right direction, of that feeding washing up and going into their lungs and them choking to death.
Yeah.
There is no, you know, the burden far outweighs the benefit, if there is any benefit at all. Plus the fact, if you have somebody with cancer, you are feeding the tumor. The tumor is like a baby in your belly when you're pregnant. The baby will take the nutrition first,
yep,
and you get the leftovers.
Right.
You give somebody feeding tubes or artificial nutrition hydration, the tumor gets it first, the patient gets the leftover. You can actually see tumors growing by the day when you artificially feed people.
Absolutely scientific data on that. I mean, there's a time for a feeding tube.
Well, sure.
But not
when somebody is dying with no hope,
no.
When the road to, I just heard this lately, when the road to good health, and I'm saying good health, not survival, good health, becomes too painful, the road to compassion is the answer.
There you go. Hospice is a multidimensional system of care. Many of us don't really understand its function until we or someone we know needs it.
First, they have to have a terminal condition that the physician feels that they have a 6-month or less life expectancy. And the second thing is that they're looking for comfort-focused care rather than curative-focused care. So if it's a cancer patient, for example, and they're doing active chemotherapy or radiation, they wouldn't qualify for hospice while they're doing that. But sometimes then when they finish those treatments, then we can look at hospice for them. So I usually tell people that there's 3 main things covered by the benefit of hospice. 1 is people, 2 is equipment, and 3 is medications. So that hospice benefit covers those 3 areas. As far as the people go, that's the hospice staff that will come to the home to provide care. And we're the support team for the family there. We're not with them 24 hours a day, but we teach them how to provide the care. We also cover equipment needs, and so some patients will get hospital beds, walkers, wheelchairs, those kinds of things to be brought out to their home to make things go a little smoother. And then medications that are related to comfort-focused care are also covered and supplied by hospice. You know, it's hard to let other people come into your home, but once that happens, you really get to get a rapport with the patient and the family, and they get to know you and you get to know them. So that extra support, the patient and family both know that they can call us 24 hours a day if anything's unusual is going on, so that's reassuring to them. And I think for the most part, just knowing that they can do this, they can provide that care, and you know, with our help as backup, that hopefully things will be successful. We also have bereavement follow-up after the death to follow the family or caregivers for a year after death. And that will include contacts, phone calls, personal visits if they want that. We've also got a grief education class that we offer to our family members so that they can learn about the grief process and know if what they're going through is normal. It's a special time for the family to be around at end of life. Not to say that it's an easy time, but it's important to be there for the family members, and our job really is to make sure it goes as smooth as it can. So we may be you know, teaching them to provide the care. We might be facilitating a family meeting if there's some issues that they want to work through before the patient passes away. And so it's kind of just an extra level of support for them. Most people are reluctant to talk about hospice, and they don't want to talk to us initially, but once they get on the service, they realize what a benefit it is to them, and oftentimes say, I wish we would have done this sooner.
This is your show, and your questions are key to the show discussion. Call in your questions about caring for loved ones at the end of life to 1-888-333-3776. 376-6225, or send us an email to ask@prairiedoc.org. And I'll quickly answer one question. They ask how I'm doing. I had pancreatic cancer, metastatic to the liver, chemotherapy. After all of the treatment, chemotherapy really worked on the lesion, and it shrunk. And the PET CAT scan didn't show any other lesions. So they're very hopeful, and they're going to take a wedge resection in October of the lesion, and there's hope that they could have a cure. Not a huge chance, but a decent running shot at it. So I feel good. I'm taking the chemo. I had chemo on Tuesday, and I'll get another chemo in 3 weeks, and that'll be my last one, which is great. So we have a question about comment on the statement, old enough to die, which comes from some author. What do you think of that?
I don't know that you can put an age on that. I think dying becomes a better answer when living becomes too hard, too painful, too limited. I mean, you know, you look at someone like Stephen Hawking and you think, oh my God, you know, he went so much further than most people would, and look at what he gave to the world. He changed the world. So old enough to die belongs to the person.
Yeah,
There's not just a number.
Right. I was thinking about one of the a Catholic priest that I learned on my Methodist Sunday school class, where we were listening to his lecture on the fact that there's a time in a life when you learn that it's not about you, and that suddenly your perspective and your joy is increased, and you've reached a point, I think at that point, where you stop being fearful of dying. We have another question. My mother has moderate dementia. What are the indications that we should start looking into hospice care for her? You like that question?
Oh, I like that question.
Okay.
Because people don't know that dementia is a terminal illness. The end of dementia is dying. And hospice takes in patients that are demented, no matter where they are, even if they're in a facility. Hospice will go and visit in that facility and work with the staff. Typically, the signs that they're entering a terminal phase is that they no longer smile, that they have difficulty putting 5 or 6 words together that make sense, that they start having difficulty walking. I think those are the 3 main ones. If you look on the National Hospice and Palliative Care Organization website, that's nhpco.org, they will give you the criteria for admission to hospice for every single disease. So if you're not sure, you can look it up, and it's right there in front of you.
What's that again?
nhpco.org.
Okay.
That's the National Hospice Palliative Care Organization. There are a lot of signs that demented people give. They take out their teeth and give them away. They don't need them anymore where they're going. I have a cute story about that.
Yeah.
I took care of a lovely little gal in a long-term care facility, memory care unit. She was in a 4-bed ward, and when she was getting ready to go, she removed her teeth and said she didn't need, we actually found them in the trash, she was done with them. But she also removed the teeth of the other 3 patients in the same room because they had been roommates for a long time, and I guess she really loved them and thought they should all go together. So it was a little bit of a challenge to match teeth with patients, but that was her message. I'm done.
Well, speaking of, I'm going to ask you of an issue that you discussed this afternoon at the conference, and that's near-death experience, NDE, near-death experiences. People who have a cardiac arrest, they float to the room, ceiling, and watch the arrest going on. They go down, they see angels, they go down a long tunnel, there's a light at the end. What's your sense about that? I mean, a lot of people are very skeptical of that. Do you believe that it's real? Oh,
I would bet my bankroll, which granted is not very big, I would, yes. Because I come from critical care, and I was involved in a lot of CPRs. And I was also the nurse left behind to clean up after, because they're kind of messy. And I've heard the things that patients have said. For a time, I ran a support group for near-death experiencers because I thought what they would tell me would help me deal with my dying patients. There is a lot of research done. I think the last Gallup poll indicates 20% of the population have had near-death experiences, those who have returned. Very interesting, very important experience, which unfortunately, a lot of doctors and nurses put down as being bogus. There are people that say if you stimulate a portion of the brain, you can trigger it. But what that doesn't do is change the lives of the people that have the experience. People that have true near-death experiences come back different, a greater sense of purpose, much less materialistic, a lot of that sort of thing. When you trigger it artificially, you don't get that. It's a very important thing, lots to be learned.
You know, the book that you told me to read, which I read and then
Life
shared
After
with my
Life.
Well, no, that Moody one, I'd read that. No, Eben
Alexander.
A neurosurgeon.
Yes.
Who had this elaborate
Profound,
experience.
yes.
And the book is called Proof of Heaven.
He's a lovely guy, yeah.
And the unbelievable reassurance, really, to hear him. And then he analyzes, as you just did, about the parts of the brain. So very worth, I think.
Well, and the important thing for those of us who haven't had them is to listen to those who have, so that we can learn what happens to you when you die. The reunions, the being in the presence of a being of light and love. All of those things will take care of our fear. You know, dying is just not flipping a switch and blackness forever. Their stories are profound.
I love to hear that. And, you know, I sense that reassurance is something that's come through all of the religions throughout all those years. And actually, I think that the commonality between the major religions of the world is similar to that same near-death experience things. And we know that they've been happening throughout thousands of years. As a family member of someone in hospice care, how do you suggest we best support our loved one at the last stages of life? What is the family's best support plan?
I think the most important thing a family can do with somebody that they love that's dying is to, in many ways, some subtle, make it clear how important that life was. It mattered that you were here. Look at these beautiful grandchildren. Look at how you've raised your kids. Look at what you've contributed to your, and you know, I'm just sort of sprinkled throughout. You don't have to give them a 3-hour lecture, which I could easily do, but I don't. Just that it mattered that you were here. People dying need to know that their time here was well spent. They also need to know that the family that they leave behind is going to be okay when they're gone. So that permission giving and that reassuring, we love you, we're sad that you're leaving, but we're going to pull together as a family just like you taught us to, and we're going to be okay, but we're going to miss you. That's what dying people need to hear.
You know, your book, Final Gifts, and I could not recommend it more. Final Gifts by Maggie Callanan and Kelly.
And Patricia Kelly, right.
It talks about reconciliation, too.
Very important.
Explain that.
Well, as we come to the end of our lives, there's a need to sort of clean the desk, you know, empty out the inbox and all of that stuff. What is most important are the relationships that may be fractured or broken. That's very important to dying people, that they bring those to a close. And sometimes they don't realize it until they're confused. And that's when you really have to start listening to the language. Or sometimes when somebody's dying, toward the end they get very restless, picking at covers, shifty. You get the sense that they're just not comfortable. Always go back and look for reconciliations. Have that person come. Even if the person's in coma, they will know that that person's there. Coma, hearing is the last sense to leave, and you can talk to somebody in a profound coma. They will hear you. So choose your words carefully.
Okay.
Don't say anything the dying person would be upset to hear.
All right. Hospice brings together care for the body as well as care for the inner person, or one may say, their soul.
One of the things that we emphasize is that spiritual care is for all people and not just for religious people, because there's a distinction between religion and spirituality. So in many cases, patients and families that don't have a faith connection are able to benefit from our program as well, because they receive the spiritual care that they might not otherwise have. Part of my role is helping patients to come to terms with their own mortality and to help them to discover their spiritual and religious resources that they can then use in their care plan and in their specific needs at that time. We value the parishioner parish role very highly, and that takes priority over anything that I would provide. We want to recognize the value of that for the patient and their family, between them and their clergy. However, in light of the training that I've received, I'm able and equipped to serve not only spiritual needs of our patients, but also the emotional, relational, and social needs as well. That kind of goes beyond the spiritual aspect of what we provide too. It's absolutely essential for families too. It's equally as important for families as it is for hospice patients, because a lot of times when the hospice patient admits to hospice, the family's already grieving and they're struggling with how they're going to deal with the situation with their loved ones. So the hospice team comes alongside them and provides that emotional support. Care is more than just about quantity of living. It involves that aspect of quality too. So, sometimes I think patients want to see that their life has had meaning, that their life has meant something, and that their suffering means something. So again, one of the things that I'll do as the spiritual care provider is come alongside them and help them to explore that as well. So again, so that they can come to terms with their own mortality.
Thank you, Pastor Tabist. He's a wonderful pastor. He's our hospice pastor, and you get very close to these people.
Yes.
We meet once a week, spend an hour together. We were talking about near-death experiences, or NDEs.
Right.
You talked today about NDAs.
Right.
What is that?
That's the basis of the book Final Gifts. Patricia Kelly and I started noticing, we were both familiar with NDE before we did hospice work. We started noticing interesting patterns in the language and the behavior of dying patients. So we decided to catalog them. And we ended up with 200 some. And that was the basis of the book Final Gifts. Our dying patients dying slowly are also having experiences similar to the near-death experience. But they're not clinically dead. They're talking while it's happening, which gives us a unique opportunity to enter the landscape and dialogue with them and get more information. Oftentimes we miss the language. It's like the patient has a foot in two worlds. We understand the language that belongs to this world, but they shift to the next world. We don't understand what they're talking about there, and so we label it confused. We are the ones that are confused. The patient knows exactly what's happening. So it's that confused language that has powerful meanings that the book teaches you how to listen and learn and dialogue.
It's like they speak in symbols, as you said.
They use symbolic language a lot. I don't know why. There are some things we can't answer. But
I'm going home.
I want to go home doesn't necessarily mean 109 Oak Street.
Right.
It can often mean whatever home waits for me.
Okay. Here's a question. What is your preference in having hospice services in the home or having it at a hospice house?
Well, a lot of the hospice houses have regulations on how those facilities can be used. The hospice that I worked at had 250 patients, but we only had 14 beds in the hospice unit. And they were used in case we had a crisis at home, we weren't getting the results we needed, we'd put the person in the unit, fix the problem, and get the person back. For example, an 80-year-old woman being cared for by her 85-year-old husband, he fell and broke his hip. We took her to our hospice unit. He went in a different ambulance to the hospital. We kept her until the family could regroup. So it just depends on the hospice facility. They all have criteria, mostly set up by Medicare. And those are the criteria that have to be used for the hospice house. But each one is a little bit different.
Right. And when they can't.
I prefer, frankly, from my perspective, taking care of patients at home. I don't think there's any bed better than your own.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything better than what comes from your own kitchen. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for families to participate. It's a family journey.
Yes.
It's not just one person dying.
Yes.
The whole family will be different.
I had the opportunity to do that with my dad, and I didn't. And I regret it. I've regretted it for years.
Yeah.
Do people with Alzheimer's die differently than other people? And is their level of consciousness different at the end of life? That's a wonderful question.
That's a great question. Do they die differently? Well, not really. They die more silently. By that I mean the obvious signs that they're deteriorating are not as obvious as somebody who's deteriorating from an illness,
Right.
because they're deteriorating mentally. Typically the turning point, a significant turning point toward the end, is when they stop being able to swallow. That is a critical time to not do feeding tubes.
Yes.
That's a bad thing to do. That's a normal trajectory of dementia, is people will forget how to swallow. They slow down on eating, they don't want to eat anymore, they forget how to swallow. And that usually happens in a fairly close proximity to dying. That's normal for somebody with dementia. We don't need to get in there and fix it.
And they don't suffer if you
No, they don't.
force feed them.
No, they don't.
do not suffer.
No.
That's the important
No,
one
they
to
don't.
remember.
No, they don't.
That's the way people
Right.
naturally die. That's how God made
Most,
death.
well, a lot of people
to occur.
stop swallowing before they die. It's not just dementia.
No.
But it's a compassionate way that the body said we can't handle the burden of digestion.
Yes.
We're using all of our energy to bring this life to an end. If you feed us now, you're going to cause nausea, vomiting, distress.
Aspiration,
We
pneumonia.
don't have the energy for it.
No. Good point. I love that answer.
Yeah.
My mother just passed away, and I was wondering if she could hear me talk to her when she was on her deathbed. Do I have to talk through the Lord for her to hear me? When I told her I loved her when she was passing, did she hear it?
Yes, you bet. You bet. Hearing is the last sense to go. And when people are in coma, which almost everybody is in the final hours or a day or so of their life, that is a very important time to keep talking. Not yak, yak, but I love you, I'm proud of you, you've taught us a lot. It made a difference that you were here in this world. Look at all your accomplishments. Thank you for teaching me what you have. Yes, people in coma, when they wake, if they wake, dying patients don't wake, they can report conversations that went on in their hospital rooms.
Right. No.
They can they hear. So you always give the dying patient the understanding that everything you say will be heard. So it's never too late to say goodbye, never too late to say I love you, never.
But you know, one thing that I did my whole practice was I would speak to the family about the patient in the room with the patient. You know, why not? We were talking honest, caring, loving things.
And the patient knows.
Patient knows that
Yes,
they're
they
dying.
do.
You don't
Yes,
have
they
to
do.
hold it from them that they're dying.
No.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Just whatever you're doing, you're talking about them in a loving way. It doesn't matter. You can talk out loud in the room, but you know, you have to think that they're
Exactly.
listening.
Well, and beyond that, patients have a tremendous fear that their families are going to be caught off guard. They don't know that I'm dying. And it will be a double insult when they're not prepared. They're going to get hit by a train, you know? So when they hear you explaining, there's a relief on their part. Oh, thank God, I know that my family understands. And you know, they seem to be doing okay.
Yeah.
So that's very reassuring to a dying person.
I have a question. When my mother was dying, and I have seen this with others, she would reach like she was reaching for something, even though she might have seemed like she was sleeping. I was wondering if you have any ideas.
Oh, yes. These are great questions.
This is wonderful.
This is wonderful, yes. Reaching, waving, very common. Whose hand that we could not see was reaching to help her go into her journey of dying? Whose voice was calling her to come as she's trying to get out of bed in the final moments of her dying? We don't see everything that's happening, but what's happening around her, people are there for her. They're trying to instruct her, come, we want you to come with us. Maybe mom and dad are there. We love you, you're coming back to us. You know that beautiful song, Till We Meet Again.
Yeah.
This is the meeting again.
Yes.
So the only problem with it is you have to be careful, because sometimes patients who are so weak they can't put a straw to their mouth will suddenly try and get out of bed and they fall. And families say, oh my God, he fell and died. It's backward.
Yeah, he died.
He was dying, and in the process he fell.
Yeah.
And there again, whose hand was reaching for him?
I had a wonderful story of a 95-year-old patient. The nurse ran out of the room and said, Dr. Holm, you've got to come in. She just died. And you can't believe what happened. And I ran in. Here's a lady who lost blood flow to her leg. It was cold, 95, terrible pain. We just socked her with the most pain medicine to try to make her comfortable, and we did.
Yeah, of course.
And she was pretty much in a coma. And she's laying there, 95, families all around, and this is what happened. She opened her eyes. She looked around the room, not at her family that was there, but people, or like others.
Others.
And she said,
Hello.
"It's going to be all right."
Aww.
And then she died.
Oh.
It's gonna be all right.
Isn't that, what a gift to the family.
Oh,
We call those mini resurrections in hospice, where the patient will come out of a coma to get a message across. That was her message.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's going to be all right.
It's gonna be all right.
Yeah, that's great. Gift to the family.
yes.
Yeah.
Cindy and Jean Lovelace of Nashville are in the unique position in that Cindy had a diagnosis of cancer and Jean is involved in hospice as a chaplain. As a chaplain in hospice, what has your experience been, really?
As a hospice chaplain?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a very rewarding role to play. I think most people who are use the gift of caring for people are very spiritual people. And so the thing I get to be involved in is helping our spiritual people take care of spiritual people at a spiritual time. When we're faced with the reality, or really it's always a reality, but we acknowledge the fact that we're not always going to be in this world. We're all going to make a journey at some time when our heart stops beating and our lungs stop breathing. We ask ourselves, what is the meaning of life and what is possibly in my future? So I get to walk with patients and families down that road. The goal that I have as their hospice chaplain is that they first not be afraid to make the journey. And the second is that they be at peace. And the third is that they find meaning and purpose in each day that they're given. And I would have to say, in 23 years of doing this, very few patients have died afraid, and most of them have died at peace. And most of them and their families have said, these have been wonderful days. This gift of time between the time I'm diagnosed, the time that I take my last breath, have been rich, full years. My patients live very intentional lives. Every day is full of meaning and purpose because they are paying attention not only to the relationships they're given in this world, but the mystery of life and the mystery of death.
Go back to Cindy. Any final comments that you would like to make, Cindy?
Well, I think that, as a cancer patient myself, and also being surrounded by a lot of friends who deal with life-threatening disease, I feel like we have a little bit of change of attitude about all of this. You certainly don't take things for granted as much, and you try to live each day fully. But I also think that I personally have less fear of death as a result of my cancer diagnosis. It's certainly not a pleasant thing to have to deal with the treatments and the doctor visits and all the things that you go through. However, knowing that, that you're still here, you're still alive, you can still live fully, and then by not living in fear and not fearing death anymore, you can even live that even more. And, if that makes any sense, I feel like, I live life more fully because I am aware of, that fragility of life. And so I really want to embrace it even more.
I've heard it said that we should all come down with cancer and then be cured once a year to remind us of our mortality and to the preciousness of every moment and the friends and spiritual fellows that are around us and surround us.
And I had enrolled a little gentleman. We had a pretty good conversation in our first visit, but doggone it, I forgot to get one form signed. So I had to go to his door the next morning. I knocked on his door, and as soon as I knocked on the door, he says, "Come in here, chaplain, I want to show you something." I said, "Yes, sir." So he walked me back to his bedroom. He pointed to a clock that was up on his dresser. He said, "Chaplain, you see that clock? It was one of those old ones that had the flip dials that flipped the time minute by minute." He said, "Chaplain, many nights I'll lay awake and I'll look at that clock. 11:58. 11:59, 12 o'clock, I got another one. That's the way I live, chaplain. It's a pretty good way to not only die, but it's a pretty good way to live, to celebrate the gift of every sunrise and take advantage of all that it can give us.
It was a great pleasure to meet the Lovelaces. Our oldest son, Eric, met a woman in New York City where he lives and connected with her parents, and that's how we connected.
Oh, nice.
It's very nice.
Yeah.
We have a question. When my mother was dying, and I've seen this with others, she would reach like she was reaching. Oh, we did that one already.
Did that.
When do you know when to stop treating what's wrong and start with hospice? When do you know? That's
it has a lot to do with quality of life. When the journey that you're going through no longer brings joy and comfort to your life, and your life expectancy is within the acceptable range, for hospice is typically 6 months or less. However, we don't throw people out if they don't die in 6 months. And I've had patients as long as 2.5 years.
Yes.
You know, when you're not sure, call them. They'll come and do an information visit and let you know if it's appropriate. But if it's just getting too hard, if it's just too painful, if you're not getting anywhere, let's focus on the quality of your life. Let's focus on making memories instead of suffering.
Right. And if you have a doctor that you can communicate with,
Sure.
your doctor should be helping you, or your nurse practitioner or PA in that. Is it time for this? You know, or my mom, is it time for my mom to do this?
But you know, even if some doctors say no, the family can call hospice and make a referral.
Yes.
And let hospice deal with the doctor who may be in denial.
Well, doctors are like
Sure
that
they
way
are.
sometimes.
Sure they are.
Well, they don't want to let go of their
No,
patients.
they don't.
So it's hard for doctors too.
It is indeed.
Comment. Well, I took care of my mom for the last 9 months of her life. I learned so much from the hospice nurse. I feel like it was one of the worst times of my life and one of the best.
I know.
We need to remember that the minute we are born, we start dying. I think that's so beautiful.
It is.
Here is, what other books do you recommend about near-death experiences? I've already heard of Heaven is Real.
Yes. The oldest and most respected is a book called Life After Life by Dr. Raymond Moody. It was written in the 70s.
I read it in the 70s.
It's a
I was
terrific
in med
book.
school.
It talks about near-death experience, and he's a wonderful, soft, gentle person who simply went into people who were resuscitated and revived and said, tell me what happened. And that's the book, are all their stories. Pretty powerful. When it comes to nearing death awareness of what dying patients say, it's my book. There hasn't been any other book written about it.
No, it's a wonderful book,
Yeah.
and so I would recommend this. I mean, it really is a help. And I remember in my book, which is going to be coming out,
It's a wonderful book. Let me tell you, I've got a preview. It's great.
I included my essay in the Journal of the American Medical Association about your book,
Yes,
which I think is
yes. It was
wonderful. It's
great.
just very reassuring and very supportive and very helpful. Do you have an example of a near-death experience that was unpleasant? What about a person who was very angry, or a person who didn't have as good an experience? I mean, they're all good experiences?
No, there's a tiny percentage that we call negative NDEs. What we've done, there's a book written, if anybody's interested, it's called Dancing in the Dark by Nancy Evans Bush and Dr. Bruce Grayson, Greyson, a physician from University of Virginia Medical School. And they did research on negative NDEs. It's a very small percentage, but it's a percentage that needs to be studied because these folks need a lot of support because they're afraid that it means they're going to hell. And what their research has shown is that a negative NDE can be followed by a very positive one later on, and that these patients can die very sweetly, very positively. Yeah. So it doesn't mean you're doomed to hell. Yeah. Why they happen, we're unsure.
Maybe it's driving them to get a better life.
Something. It could be some experience from the past that needs to be worked on, but it is not an indicator that you're damned.
Right. The other thing I wanted to bring up was, did I mention it earlier? Eben Alexander, the neurosurgeon's book, Proof of Heaven. That's a book that was great reassurance to me and also to my wife.
Yes, that's an excellent book. And neurosurgeons are the hardest group to accept all this because they're such scientific guys. And to have a neurosurgeon write about his experience was really
something else.
Amazing, yeah.
We have a minute and a half.
Okay.
And I want to hear a story. You told a heartwarming story this
About
afternoon.
the feed for the horses?
Yes, can you do that very quickly?
Yes,
1
very
minute.
quickly. 1 minute. Okay. It was a family that I took care of, very poor family from rural North Carolina, sharecroppers that had moved up to the Virginia area. Mother was loved by her 5 grown children. They took fabulous care. I was visiting with her one day, and I said to her, is there anything else I can do if I had a magic wand? She said, I can't find the feed for the horses. Now, mind you, I'd been having a perfectly normal conversation with her. And I thought
30 seconds.
Yeah, feed for the horses. Turned out that there wasn't 5 grown kids, there were 6, but they had cut out old bad Roland because he was a bad dude and he was in jail. We got him out of jail to see the mother for 3 visits and combing her hair and singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star to her. It was heart-rending. And he said, this is what, she used to sing us this when we put her to bed, when she put us to bed as children. He's singing to her. And she didn't die until the family included him in dinner.
In the dinner, wow.
So she reconciled, but the family needed
Reconciliation.
to. Very important.
And now for the winner of tonight's Prairie Doc quiz question. Hospice provides teaching, research, expert pain, symptom relief, and meeting the needs of patients, their family, and friends. Where was the first hospice built? The answer is St. Christopher's Hospice was founded in London in 1967. Hospice first came to the U.S. when Medicare expanded in the late 80s and early 90s. It was Char Hovlind, who was of Brookings before, she's now in Sioux Falls, who answered the question correctly. Thank you, Char, for participating. And a book will be in the mail to you soon. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome to your Prairie Doc Library at www.prairiedoc.org. Wherever you live or travel, you and your family can enjoy free and easy access 24 hours a day. Search for a specific topic. Browse through the television shows, radio programs, and blog page. You, your family, and friends around the world can learn from physicians and other health professionals answering questions on a variety of medical topics. Visit your Prairie Doc Library today at www.prairiedoc.org.
I've lived a healthy life, connected, eating right, exercising daily, yet I came down with pancreas cancer 2 years ago. I've been treated with chemo, radiation, major surgery, and now with spread to the liver, I'm back on chemo. I'm still here and truly feel blessed and thankful for every day, but you can understand why lately I've been thinking about death. Loving my enemies has made this easier. As our kids were growing up, I would sometimes find myself saying to them, I will always love you unconditionally, but sometimes I don't like what you're doing. We should say that to our enemies too. Here's the lesson. Hate is poisonous, and especially to the one who harbors it. Remember what Jesus said, as did Mohammed and Buddha. Love your enemy. I think this makes us better fighters for a cause. I believe hating others, even when justified, only destroys us. When angry, we should point it at what he or she is doing, not at the person. Use it as a propulsion to fight to the tooth for the cause, but let go of the hate. How is this related to death, you ask? Well, when people ask me how I contend with the likely prospect of dying, I go right to the opposite of hate, which is love. I know it sounds cliched and unoriginal, but the word love embraces the spiritual inner warmth I feel when I value the other person, even if he or she is my enemy. Truly valuing others gives meaning to my time-limited life and helps take away the fear of my own death. But there is something more. Some say, one day you'll be just a memory for some people. Do your best to be a good one. That's not bad advice, but I think the measure of our worth after we die has less to do with being remembered and more to do with the reflection of our actions on others. It's that pay it forward or that Jimmy Stewart wonderful life sort of thing. I believe meaning and purpose comes with the good that we do and how that moves others forward, whether they are aware of it or not. As flawed as I am as a human, trying not to hate, but rather to love, and making every effort to pay good deeds forward has made my life richer and has infinitely reduced my fear of death. A big thank you to our guest Maggie Callanan for helping us to
my pleasure.
Discover more about hospice tonight.
Yeah.
Her understanding of the subject was invaluable to our discussion. I sincerely recommend both of her books. Final Gifts and Final Journeys are available in many bookstores as well as online. And speaking of books, I've finished my second book, Life's Final Season, a guide for aging and dying with grace. Happy little tome.
It's a wonderful book.
It's now available on Amazon and will soon be in bookstores. Please watch our website, prairiedoc.org, or our Facebook page for information including a series of appearances and book signings. And, believe it or not, this is the first live program of our 17th season. Who could have known when we started our little medicine show at the beginning of the century that it would grow and continue to send out good science-based medical information all these years? Thank you all for inviting us into your homes, and we are looking forward to a great season with wonderful guests and important topics, and this was a really important one. On that note, it isn't too early to get a flu shot. Well, that does it for tonight from all of us here at On Call with the Prairie Doc. Until next time, stay healthy out there, people.
We often wait and wait to avoid going to the doctor, but it is important too. Men's health, prostates, testicles, bladders, and all that stuff. Next time, On Call with the Prairie Doc.
Useful, scientific-based medical information delivered in a respectful and compassionate manner. This is what we get from the Prairie Docs. I am proud to serve on the board of the Healing Words Foundation. Our nonprofit organization works behind the scenes building financial support to continue and expand Prairie Doc programs. We thank the many health providers who volunteer their time to answer our health questions. Significant funding is required to produce and distribute video, radio, and print throughout the region. Your donations will help the foundation continue to offer free and easy access to the entire library of Prairie Doc health education programs. I grew up with Rick Holm on the prairies in DeSmet. On behalf of the Healing Words Foundation,
and on behalf of a lifelong friend,
we invite you to join our mission. Go to prairiedoc.org and click the donate button today. Thank you.
Major funding for On Call with the Prairie Doc has been provided by
Avera is a proud sponsor of On Call on South Dakota Public Broadcasting.
Larson Manufacturing is proud to support On Call Television as it continues to open doors for important medical information.
and by the South Dakota Foundation for Medical Care, the Medicare Quality Improvement Organization for South Dakota, and with the ongoing support of these individuals and institutions. Brookings Health System, Ophthalmology Limited, American Academy of Family Physicians Foundation and South Dakota Academy of Family Physicians, Avera Heart Hospital, Dakota Allergy and Asthma, CoBank, Fishback Financial Corporation, Vance Thompson Vision, Brown Clinic, Aberdeen District Medical Society, 3rd District Medical Society, 7th District Medical Society, Dakota Bank, Orthopedic Institute, Physicians Care Sanford Clinic Community Service Committee, Aberdeen Asthma and Allergy, and Swiftel Communications.